Are you ready for a full face of beauty pie? Because I am very ready. Now this is going to be a full face application, whole load of different products, so obviously it's going to be on the slightly longer side. If you're looking for a shorter summary of what is hot and what is not, I would recommend my top 5 bottom 5 video, which you can check out. I will link it down below, and that will give you a shorter summary of my very favourite products and my not so great products. But for today, we're going to include all the stuff in the middle because there's a whole bunch of stuff that didn't make my top 5, but honestly is still very good quality and definitely worth your money. So I wanted to whack it all on my face in one video, and you can see how things apply and reach your own conclusions. So let's get started. To start with, I'm going to use the Fresh Glow setting spray. Now this is a really lovely setting spray in my opinion, because it genuinely does make my makeup last longer. It also takes down any powdery finish, plus you can use it as a priming spray. I mean, oh my god, my bottle. I just realised my bottle is so dirty because I use it like every time I do my makeup. It also has quite a nice fine mister. Now, my first product is something that I really don't like. So I'm only going to apply a light layer of it because I don't want to ruin the whole thing before we get started. I want to be able to show you all the other products and give them a fair showing without, you know, the base just messing everything up. And this is the Everyday Great Skin Foundation. It's not great. I've got an in-depth review of this, so you can go check that out. But for today, I'm just going to apply like a super light layer just so that things don't get really messy. If I can get the pump open. Now this is the shade 50 Superlight, and in my opinion it's not super light. It's not super anything, to be honest. But we're going to go in with a sponge. Now usually I wouldn't recommend using a sponge with a foundation that is so liquidy because the sponge will absorb quite a lot of product. But because I want a really sheer layer, I am just going to go in with my sponge today. This foundation oxidizes, so I'm going to blend it down my neck. I mean, you can already see that this, for the lighter shade, is not that light. Like I even have a tan right now, you know? Like this is me in the summer, like, and it's still, you know, it's too warm. This is supposed to be a neutral undertone. That is how it is listed. I would not necessarily say that it is a neutral undertone. To me, it's still kind of on the warm side, particularly once it oxidizes. But, you know, we gotta whack something on for the base, so a thin layer of this it is. Right, moving on to concealer. I have 2 concealers to show you, one that I like and one that I don't like. So I do like the Unbeatable concealer. This is a potted concealer. This is the shade 75. And then I have a stick twist up concealer. This one I'm not so much of a fan of. This is called the Incrediblur concealer. I don't know how it got that name. And this is also in shade 75. They are slightly different colours though, they're not the same even though they have the same name. And this one I don't like so much because it's drying and it doesn't give you that much coverage, but I will show you what I mean. Starting with the concealer, I do like any small concealer brush. I'm going to put a little bit under my eye here, just dipping my brush in, and I'm going to use a sort of patting and stroking motion to apply the concealer. This has a reasonable amount of coverage and it has quite an emollient formula, as do most potted concealers. So you need a little bit extra powder to set it down. Like, I'm not a baking person, I'm not someone who usually applies powder with a sponge and packs it on. I usually just use a brush. But with a potted concealer, sometimes you do need to press the powder right into it so that it sets it down, because it does have that thicker texture. And you can see that's done a reasonable job there. I'm going to add a little bit around the nose here. Blend that out with my brush. A little bit on the chin. I'm also going to take a slightly smaller concealer brush here and dip the tip into the product and then apply it where I have some little blemishes. And you can see it does do a reasonably good job. Now, the concealer that I do not like. I'm gonna put a little bit of this under the other eye. Okay. Upon first application, you might think, it doesn't look so terrible. But look what happens when I try and blend this out. First of all, it's going streaky with the brush, whereas the other one didn't go streaky with the brush. So now I'm going with my finger. No, I don't like it. Do you see how it's just sort of not giving much coverage? I've also found, like, I don't really have any dry patches on my skin at the moment because I've been doing my good exfoliating routine. But if you do have any dry patches on the skin, as I did the first time I tried this concealer, it really, really highlights dry patches. And it just, you know, it's not wowing me, you know, it's just not wowing me. Put a little bit on the other side of my nose here, where I get a bit of redness. And yeah, because it really highlights dry skin, and when you try and blend it out, it really doesn't give a whole lot of coverage. This actually made my bottom 5. Like, as a concealer, I'm not a fan. I'm going to put a little bit of my potted concealer that I do like here on top, just to add a bit more coverage where I have some darkness, because that other concealer didn't really do the job for me. Actually, you can see I have a tiny bit of dry skin just in this area on the inside of my nose going into my eye. And I don't know if you can see that, but the concealer has really like picked up on these little dry patches. I don't know if you can see. Moving on now to something that I absolutely love, one of my favorites. This is the Pro Glow Strobing Drops. I have the shade Illuminati, which is more of a golden bronze kind of a shade. They also have another shade which is more of a pink undertone. And I'm gonna pop this just on the back of my hand here and spread it out, and then use my sponge to apply it to the high points of my face. And this really, really packs a punch, but unlike some other very pigmented highlighting drops, this stuff blends out really, really easily. And that is why, in my opinion, it is such a winner, because you can just blend this so easily and it really doesn't disturb the base makeup. Like, I've used this over so many different foundations and you can just blend it on top of anything. Unlike some liquid highlight formulas that have more of an oily base consistency, this doesn't break up the foundation. Now, obviously this shade is a little bit dark for me, but I didn't want the pink undertoned one because pink undertone highlighters don't suit my skin colour. So I use this as a kind of very glowy bronzer. A little bit on the nose. This, if you want to be literally beaming to the heavens, is a really good option. I might buy the other shade anyway, you know, just I might mix the two together and see if I can get a lighter but not completely pink shade that I can enjoy as a highlight rather than as a kind of a bronzer. I'm going to put a little bit on the lip, and you can see that this was just such an easy formula to use. Like, if you're a beginner and you're looking for a liquid highlight that you basically can't go wrong with, honestly this formula is so good, and I really do like this colour even though it is a little bit dark for me. Okay, another product that I really love, this is the Quick Colour Contour, and this is like a gel formula. It has a little squeezy tube. You turn it to the on position so that you can squeeze product out of the top. This is the shade 1. They only have 2 colours, and I believe this is the slightly less warm of the two, and is a nice shade in my opinion. It's also very easy to use because it doesn't dry down too quickly. And although it does look pigmented right now, it blends out super easily into something that is quite sheer and easy to work with. Again, if you are a beginner, this is a really easy like contour to use. I'm going to take a Real Techniques brush and I'm just going to use this to buff that product out, and you can see how easy that was. It's nice and fluid, it's not too stiff. Like I said, it doesn't dry down super quick, so you can apply this around your face or where you want it and then go in and blend, rather than having to apply, blend, apply, blend, apply, blend, as you do with some products that dry down quicker. Just blend this around the jaw. And any excess on the brush, I'm just going to take around the nose into the eye socket here. And we have our contour, and that was just so easy. And then you can obviously twist it back into the off position so that you can't squeeze any more product out, so that it's safe for traveling and all of that good stuff. And we are done with our cream products. So now we can move on to powders. So I have two face powders to share with you. There is one, the Super Translucent Loose Setting Powder, and the other is the One Powder Wonder, which is a super popular product. And it's the product that I actually bought my Beauty Pie subscription for. I was, however, a little disappointed with it because I expected it to be more of a setting powder with a soft finish, but it's actually more of a finishing powder. Like, it doesn't really set your makeup. Like, you won't be able to set concealer or any like area of your face where your product is actually like wet and a little bit tacky. This will not set it. Like, it will crease, it will move around, it will just not last at all. This is definitely more of a finishing powder or for the perimeters of the face. So that's where I'm going to use it, on the perimeters. Let me grab my brush. And you can use this anywhere where you don't have like a thick layer of product, anywhere where you're not too worried about setting down concealer. So this is all right for the perimeters of the face, but it was a little bit disappointing in terms of this, you know, obviously being the product that I got my Beauty Pie subscription for. Like, I don't regret getting my Beauty Pie subscription. I've got lots of lovely skincare and makeup products out of it, and some bummers as well, but I have got some good stuff out of it. But this is definitely not quite as wow as I expected. Now, with the loose translucent powder, the issue I have with this is mainly that it is not actually translucent, and if you can see there on the lid, this is yellow. It's not translucent, and that might not matter to a lot of people, but when you're fair, it really matters that your translucent powder is pale enough. So because I have got my thicker concealer, like potted concealer, under the eyes, I am going to go in with a sponge, which I wouldn't usually do, but because it's that type of concealer, I'm going to. So I'm going to dip my sponge in here. I do actually really like the packaging of this powder. Make sure I don't have any creases. And just pop that under there. Now, the problem I have with this is that it is yellow, and it is too dark for me personally, being a pale person, and it really darkens up my concealer. Apart from that, you know, it's not a terrible powder. Like, it's not as long lasting as like my Gosh powder, or as like the Laura Mercier. I like contracted those two words together then. It doesn't set it as well and like hold oil back as well as some other powders, but it's fine, you know, it's okay. It's nice and finely milled. Like I said, I really like the packaging. But that not being translucent issue is obviously quite a big problem for me personally. I will say it does create quite a nice smooth skin finish. It's just, it's yellow, you know. Quickly set the rest of the center of my face with this, anywhere where I get oil. Like I said, the One Powder Wonder is not going to hold back oil or set down concealer. So like on my chin here where I put some concealer and around my nose, just need to get in with this translucent powder. Make sure everything stays in place. Moving on to powder blush and powder bronzer. Now, these are a couple of really nice products. This powder blush is really smooth, really pigmented. I do really like the colour. This is the shade Go Rouge. And then I have a powder bronzer. This is in the shade Goldielux. And it's a nice sort of mid to warm toned bronzer for lighter skin tones. Obviously, I already have some bronzing on with my highlighting drops, so I'm just going to apply this really around the temples. Just dip my brush in here. Again, this is quite a nice, finely milled powder. It is, like I said, like neutral to warmer toned, so it might be a bit orange if you are super fair. It's certainly a bronzer. It is not like a hybrid contouring powder. you definitely just want to be using it on the high points to bronze rather than to create any shadows on the face. This is just a big fluffy Revlon powder brush, and I just dip that in there, give it a little tap off, and then just stamp onto the cheek. These are quite pigmented, so you can get quite a lot of a rosiness here. But I think this is a really nice quality pigmented blush that lasts on the skin, so I'm very happy about that. Stamp, stamp, stamp. And as always, taking my blush up onto my temples for a more natural kind of sun-kissed effect. Blend that out. I put blush kind of everywhere, and it's partly because I have quite sharp angular features. I think that having a nice dispersed application of blush really just softens things up. Now at this point I do want to mention a couple of powder highlighters that I have that have actually been discontinued, and I'm glad that they've been discontinued because that means Beauty Pie recognised that they were not good. The first is the Moonlighting Powder, Radiance Powder Moonlighting Balm. I don't know it's called a balm, it's a powder, in Soft Soul. Now I thought this was going to be a highlighter, but it's actually a really weird combination. Now they do still make this powder in a different shade, but they don't still make this colour. And it kind of looks okay in the pan. It feels very soft. It doesn't look too bad on the finger. Like it could be like a finishing powder or something that's got a luminosity to it. But then when you try and swatch it, it's just kind of weird and powdery, and it disperses out to be kind of shimmery rather than glowy. You know what I mean? Like you can still get this in a different shade, but this shade no longer exists. And I think that's probably a good thing. And then the other powder highlighter I have is this one. This is the Pro Glow highlighter. This is the shade Cosmic Shine. Now they no longer seem to make this, which is also really good because this is terrible. Like it's dry, it flakes, it just poofs up into like glitter. It's really not good. And I mean, obviously these don't exist anymore, but it's not really encouraged me to buy more powder highlighters from Beauty Pie, given that the ones I have tried have kind of sucked. And the liquid one is so good. Like if you're gonna go for a highlighter from Beauty Pie, I would stick with the liquid one. I mean, obviously I can't, I got hair on my face, it's tickling. Obviously I can't speak to all of the other powder highlighters they have. I'm just saying that my experience with their powder highlighters so far has been not good. That's all I'm saying. Okay, so moving on now to the eyes. So with the eyes, I'm gonna just start out by saying brow pencil, good. Eyeliners, good. Eyeshadow, not good. I'm gonna show you some of these eyeshadows. This is the 10 best matte eyeshadow shades. They're not the best of anything, let me tell you. And this is just a neutral matte palette, which I thought would be good for just neutral smoky eyes, or, you know, when you're using something else, but you need something matte for the outer edge or the crease, you can just dip into this. But it's really not good, and that's because the shadows are just very, very similar. Like they look slightly different in the pan, but some of them are just, when you blend them out, they all kind of become one messy shade, you know, they just kind of, you want your shadows to blend, but you don't want them to completely blend to the point where they're no longer indistinguishable from each other. Also, they're just not very pigmented, kind of patchy, just in generally not good. So I'm going to use a little bit of this just so you can see on the eyes. I'm going to start with this shade here and a large fluffy brush, and I'm going to use this in the crease. This pink shade is one of the ones I do actually like, which is why I'm using it. But, you know, you can't buy a whole eyeshadow palette for one colour, right? Like you could get this colour somewhere else. Lots of matte eyeshadow palettes have like a light matte kind of dusty rose pink transition shade, you know. Okay, let's get a smaller brush now. I'm gonna go into which one. It's really hard to pick because I'm picking between things I don't like. Let's just use this one that is next to the pink we just used, and I'm going to use this more into the crease. And this is just a weird colour. Like there's nothing wrong with having like cool undertoned eyeshadows, but when they become literally just grey, like it's just not very flattering, you know? Okay, moving on to, let's go with this slightly darker one now at the outer edge. And it's just, everything just, it's just grey. It's just not cool toned in a flattering way. Let's try a little bit of the brown on the outer corner. If I take a flat brush and just pop a little bit of that on the outer edge. And you know, obviously I'm doing my best to make these eyeshadows work. I'm not trying in any way to make them not look good because I don't want my makeup to look, oh, it's gone a bit patchy there, this brush. I don't want my makeup to look bad, so I want to make the best of it. But you see how that brown now just looks grey like everything else? Like, let me take a bit more on my finger. Let's take a little bit of this shade, blend it into the brown. It just, they're just not good colours. It's just a bad, it looks kind of more slightly purpley in the pan, but then when you apply it, it's just another shade of like weird grey. I honestly don't know, like, and like I said, I don't like the formula. I find the formula a bit hard to blend, a little bit dusty, a bit patchy. Take a little bit of this light one here and just apply that through the inner part of the eye to lighten it up. You know, it's not like you can't make these work, but I just never reach for this, literally never. The only thing I've done with this really is like 40s makeup, because 40s eyeshadow like just is like grey, brown and smudgy because they didn't have much else in terms of eyeshadow. I'm going to take that second shade that we used here and put that underneath the lash line. Okay, I'm going to put this down now because I don't like it and I don't want to play with it anymore. Moving on to the eyeliners, which are actually, oh, dropped a brush, never mind. The eyeliners I actually really like. These are the Ultra Colour Pro Gel eyeliners. I have Plum, I think this is, and Envy, this is a green. So I'm not sure they really go together, but I'm going to use both for you and to sharpen it. At least you can tell I use it though, right? So I'm going to put this on the upper lash line. And this is a nice creamy formula. It glides on, it's really easy to apply. Just apply that all the way in. Doesn't really go with the grey-brown smudge that I've got going on, but never mind. Just put on quite a thick line so that you can actually see it. Okay, let's pop the green on the bottom. You can see that's a nice eyeliner. I do really like the formula. It is really nice and creamy. Let's pop some green into the lower lashes. I like that they're nice and soft because then you can go in your waterline and on your tight line without feeling like you're poking yourself with something really sharp. And the colour just comes off nicely. You don't have to press super hard. Okay, so now we've got like a complete mishmash or mismatch, one or the other, of things going on the eyes. Now, brow pencil I do really like. This again has a really nice formula for a brow pencil. It's nice and stiff, like it's not too creamy, you don't get too much pigment coming off, but it has enough pigment coming off that you're not battling to get the pigment onto your brows. It has twist up packaging so you don't have to sharpen it. It has a spoolie on one end, which is always great. This is the shade Perfect Brown, which I really like because it's not too warm. Decided I wanted to brighten up the eyes a little bit with some of the liquid highlighter, which you can absolutely use as a sort of glowy eyeshadow. Now, Beauty Pie do not seem to make a brow gel, but honestly that's okay because I am wedded to my Glossier Boy Brow and I probably wouldn't use anything else even if I bought it. I also don't have a mascara from Beauty Pie because they do not make a waterproof mascara, and I like and need a waterproof formula, so there wasn't really much point in me spending my money on a non-waterproof mascara because I know it's going to go everywhere. So I'll pop those things on at the end, but for now we're going to do the lips. And I overall love Beauty Pie lip products. I think they do a really good job with their lip products. Lip liners are good. The lipsticks, I've got the Luxe Shine lipsticks, I've got a couple of shades of those, it's absolutely beautiful. The gel glosses, the oil gel glosses are really lovely and hydrating. And yeah, I'm just quite the fan of their lip products. So what I'm going to do is use a lip liner, a nude lipstick, and then wax some gloss on top so that you can see it. So this is the Moisture Lock Wonder Gel Lip Liner. This is the shade Damsel, and you can see it's a really nice nude pink shade. It's creamy, but it's not really slippy. So you can get a nice crisp lip line. And you can see it looks nice and smooth. It's not highlighting any dryness. And it is quite a long-lasting formula. Now the lipstick, which is probably my favourite Beauty Pie thing. This is the Luxe Shine lipstick in Master Sweet. And this is just a lovely, lovely, lovely lipstick. Also, it smells really good. Like, I'm not sure what it's got in it to make it smell this good, but I just want to eat it. It's a really hydrating, high shine formula. It's the kind of lipstick you can whack in your handbag and just reapply throughout the day really easily. I like the shape of it. I like the twist up. It's not too big, not too small. So you can kind of almost apply this lipstick without looking. You know, if you're out and about, you can just get it out and whack it on and it's gonna look really lovely. Now, obviously, this doesn't really need a gloss on top because it's really shiny, but I want to show you the gloss. So let's just remove a little lipstick there and apply some of the Wonder Gloss. Now these are really shiny, but they're not sticky and gloopy because they're that kind of more gel oil formula. You could just fill in your lips with lip liner and then whack this on for a really pretty look. It's super, super, super shiny. And it could almost be a skincare product because it's so hydrating. So a bit more spray. Occasionally it does spurt out like one big drop. Like I said, it has a nice spray and it does, but then like very occasionally you're just like, oh, like I got like one random big drop somehow, I don't know how. Okay, I'm gonna use brow gel and mascara and be right back. Okay everyone, that was a full face of Beauty Pie, mascara and brow gel aside. The good, the great, the bad and the ugly. Definitely hate these eyeshadows probably the most. And I don't like the foundation, which is why I applied the like tiniest bit ever. But like the powder bronzer, powder blush, the highlighting drops, the eyeliners and all the lip products, the setting spray, the contour, the potted concealer. If you I know not everyone is into a good potted concealer formula, but if you are, I do like this. Yeah, I hope this was useful seeing them in action. I worked as well as I could with the things that I don't like. So that pretty much wraps up my series of Beauty Pie videos, I think. I will have them linked all down below. You've got, like I said, top 5, bottom 5 makeup, top 5, bottom 5 skincare, a couple of other things. Yeah, I hope you're having a lovely, lovely day. Please subscribe if you liked this video and I will see you all next time. Bye!